They're checking cherubim pots strewn strategically along the daily. Charter boys are tying paternosters in preparation for the fray. Tinnies are being towed to target on the Arnhem Highway. Over in Gove, they're rigging up teasers for the big boys. There's an air of anxious optimism at harbourside boat ramps as launch time looms. And in the front bar of a top-end pub...
You reckon that chick's a fisher?
I don't know. It's impossible to tell.
Or is it? Check out the swagger, the easy confidence, the double plugger tan. Look at the faded hat. That skin has been sunburnt, covered in mozzie repellent, fish blood and pilly slime. Yeah, for sure.
I'll bet you $10 she's not.
Excuse me? You a fisho?
Yeah, get a mullet up ya.
And you?
More.
Oh, hang on.
Wharton,
Oi, Tim.
get your bums in the boat and get on with it.
G'day fishos and welcome to the Tinny for another week with Tim and Andy, and a week when we just got to get this out of the way early because Andy's been fishing again and I'm led to believe you got some tuna, so can we just get it out of the way?
Okay. Yes, it was epic. It was epic, Tim. Yesterday out on the harbour, off Lee Point, you would have seen the tide was around 2 metre low, so there were only 3 other boats out there, and we caught nothing all morning. Those boats raced back to the boat ramp to make the tide before the low to get their boats out.
So you were there on the outgoing?
So I was there on the outgoing by myself, and I'll tell you exactly where, fishos. 2.72 nautical miles off the hospital. Mm-hmm. And nothing happened. Nothing.
What did I ask?
Nothing happened for most of the day, but I didn't leave because the bait on the sounder was phenomenal. I have never seen. I thought at one point the screen on my new sounder had broken, and it was just showing big clumps of yellow, and it didn't know how to do purple or blue, but it was just bait. So I thought it's got to happen. It's got to happen. It's got to happen. And funnily enough, it happened in the last hour of the run out before the dead low. It went nuts.
Perseverance, mate.
Nuts. It went nuts. And one school stayed up for about 25 minutes. I would have dropped at least 12, as in hooked up and then hooks pull or whatever. That ended up landing 3 big longtail and 2 big Mac tunas. So I went home with 5 tuna and a busted rod. Gee, you know, sometimes, and I'm getting a bit excited now just retelling this, you know, in the excitement of the moment, especially when it's all happening and it hasn't happened for a decade like that, my fine motor skills just went to custard. I actually dropped the net, not once, but 3 times. I dropped the net in the water and had to lean over and get it whilst holding the fish on. And then I had a shark up one of the bums of one of the tunas. And then I went to net it, and then I busted a rod. And then I blew 2 eyelets, and I was just like... I mean, we train, don't we? We train for these events.
We are athletes, we do train.
We're great casting a million times at the same snag.
But in the grand final, mate, when the pressure's on, it just shows you are a man of the people. You are a man of the church. Oh. You are no different, and you are no better.
No.
You're just like the rest of us, mate. We cannot even hold a rod when it's really on.
Anyway, it was fantastic. And to those other couple of fellas out there, we had a good chat out there in the water too, and they said the same thing. You know, if they could have stayed, they would have. But wow,
good feeling too to stick through it, to trust the sounder, to trust what you know, and it came on.
Yeah, it is.
Well done. A quick point of order though: it is common, Andy, for fishers to have an item of clothing we kind of favour on the boat. You know, sometimes we even go so far as to endow it with a certain power, a fish attracting power, if you will. But it's come to light since your tuna session that you had one such item, one that showed its power to you. That you have this item doesn't surprise me, of course, that you have an item that gives you fish powers. I was a teensy bit surprised when I found out that it was a dress.
Oh, I sent that photo to Beard confidentially.
Well, there's nothing confidential at Tinny HQ.
Right. Okay. So it's not a dress. It's it's called an iwhaitanga, which is a Samoan piece of attire.
This is you and the Samoan chief thing.
It's my traditional wear. That's right. So you may also know that fishos as a sarong or a lava lava. Some of the other Pacific countries. So it's basically a lava lava. It's got Samoa written all over it, and I just did something different yesterday, Tim. I put it on, and that's all I had on, just that, and then I just motored out, and I said, today, I am going to catch fish.
And that you did. So it did have power. But Beard, who was the recipient, as you mentioned, of the euphoric selfie you sent from the boat, bare-chested and clad in your dress, as he fairly reliably does, and we've noted before, he honed in on one particular aspect of the photo, one potentially more shocking than the dress itself.
Andy, do you realise your bare torso resembles the face of former Prime Minister John Howard? I'm seeing two huge caterpillar-like eyebrows of chest hair over two mean little nipple eyes. The likeness is incredible and awful. Don't seize this, however, as an occasion to wheel out your John Howard impression. Just don't do it. Anyway, weird.
What
Thoughts?
Yeah, I'll give him a thought. What's weird is that Beard's got the time to make those pointless
To see John Howard in your chest
little
hair.
grabs, and that is what's weird is the fact that he saw John Howard
In your chest.
on my chest. That's
Should we move this on?
that's wow.
I know.
Okay.
I know. It's disturbing, isn't it? So let's move it on.
Let's move on to the show.
Pretty soon you'll hear about a good old spooling on the tinny and what happens when your boat goes under at the mouth of Buff Creek on an incoming tide.
One of the mates says, the motor's supposed to be that low in the water. I looked behind, and by the time I tried to react, and the water just came in and the boat tipped over, and under I went.
Yeah, it's a freaky story, that one, and one worth listening to as a bit of a note. We'll also take you down the Finnis and look at how that's been fishing lately, all that, and heaps more as usual, including a more fulsome analysis. We might put the pic up of the man's chest hair that looks like John Howard. So much to look forward to on the tinny.
We realised we were just surrounded by boofing barramundi. Chaos ensued. Where's the boogers? Where's the pliers? It's my net. Get over me, get under me, hang on, mine's out the back. It was nuts.
Tales from the tinny. Get a mullet up.
Well, his name is Rowan. They call him Paddles, or at least we do, Andy. Even though he's probably got a 200 horsepower donk on his boat, and to actually paddle it, you'd need 100 Vikings or 200 horses, all paddling
At once.
like 200 horses paddling. Anyway, the point is he's here, right here in the rank COVID den, and he's been fishing. It's Paddles from Top End Barra Fishing. How are you, man?
Good, mate. How you going?
Well, but I suppose we should get the bad news out of the way first. You have been fishing, but been hit in the guts by the New South Wales closure. A lot of people probably don't realise the impact that has on a lot of our top-end guides, right?
Yeah, 100%, Timmy. We've pretty much torn up all of August, which were big extended tours. So it hurts pretty hard. Picking up a few scraps at the moment, a few day trips here and there, but certainly not the month it was going to be.
What do they do, Paddles? Do they cancel or do they delay? That must be a logistical nightmare as well, with all the unknowns.
It's terrible, mate. It's really hard. Within our cancellation policies, we try to reschedule, but it's pretty difficult with airlines cancelling all the time as well. So pretty much, if we can't reschedule, we refund.
How much do you lose?
Oh, a lot of money, Timmy. Yeah.
Oh, how many days? I mean, just from that cancellation.
August, I've lost probably 20 days.
Yeah,
maybe more.
And that applies to the other guides who you were doing the charters with as well, yeah?
Yeah. And it's not finished yet. We've got September with, 3 big groups, groups of 9 and 12 people. So 3 guides affected, 2 other guides plus me. Yeah.
Up until now, though, has the loss of the internationals from COVID, was that being made up by how much people are travelling and how many people are coming to the north?
Oh, 100%.
Like in the last 6 months before this New South Wales one and the Vic one, things have been pretty good for you guys, haven't they?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's been awesome. It's been really good, flat out. Actually, when we got that first lockdown, the 5 days, I think I was the only person in Darwin was excited about it because I needed
Yeah,
a
it was a
break.
break.
I was knackered.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but hard to plan for the ups and downs.
yeah, you can't plan for it, mate. Just got to deal with it. And we got through it last year. We'll get through it again, but it is hard.
So the Finnis, mate, talk us through that trip.
Yeah, the Finnis has been good on the Neeps, mate. When it's clean in there's plenty of barra in the legal section of the river. It's the only section that I fish. We're getting, up to 30 hookups, dozen fish a session, no problem, legals. All nice, clean, saltwater fish too.
So what sort of tide, windows and movement do you need to have the clarity of the water?
It's got to be small, mate. Small moving tides, all those Neeps, but probably only 4 days a set where it's small enough. Only because of the wind, southeasterlies blowing across the flats. It sucks that dirty water in as soon as the tides get a bit bigger.
2-3 metres movement?
Oh, less than if you can. Yeah, 1.5 metres has been good in there for me. I fished there the other day with no movement at all. It was clean as I've ever seen it, and we did well. Yeah. I know no run, no fun's normal to call, but I tell you, I'm just fishing different techniques in there that I have before.
So with that real clear water and very little movement, how does a bite window work in that, or is it just one big window?
6:30, we're fishing by 7:30, and we're off the water by 2, and getting a consistent bite through that whole period. It's not easy fishing. It's all casting into the structure. The fish are hard up against the structure when it's not moving like that.
Yeah, okay.
So most days when I get home, I eat anywhere from 6 to 8 bananas because I feel like a monkey. I've been in that many trees. But, it is rewarding if you get the cast in the right spot.
Yeah.
What is right spot then? Because that's not always easy to ask of your customers either, who aren't always that sweet on the cast and the precision.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. It's frustrating for me as a guide because I know where the fish are going to be. These people are on holidays, so you can't
bark too much.
You can't bark too much, mate. But generally, if you're in a couple of feet of the leeward side of the snags, yeah, that's where they are. So I normally just go past and I'll side scan and we'll just back and pepper that snag until we get snagged on the snag and go in and spook all the fish out and move to the next pile.
That's exactly how it happens. So what are you using to get down to that snag and ideally right up on it and in it and under it quickly from a distance?
Soft plastics, mate. I'm just using from 1/4 to 3/8 of an ounce jig heads, rigging weedless, but I still manage to get a weedless snag every second cast. But it's just get that vertical sink and then just slow roll. No twitches, nothing. Just really slowly retrieve it.
Just out of interest, are you running? What do you run? Thread lines or bait casters?
Thread lines,
yeah.
Just 2500 spin reels.
Yeah, okay.
20-pound braid.
Yep.
I run 50-pound leader in there because there is big fish in there and you will get stitched up. Biggest was 72, I think, on the big day when we hooked roughly 30 fish. Most of the fish have been legal. There is a lot of rats in that river as well. But they're not mice like in Corroboree, they're rats. So, 53s and 54s.
So still fun for the punters.
Yeah, and we're getting keepers. They're getting to take a feed home. If they want it, most people let them go because they don't have the ability to cook them anyway. So it's good to let them swim away.
And it'd be land of the chromie, wouldn't it, up there?
Beautiful fish,
yeah.
Andy, beautiful. Yeah, really clean. Certainly the river is the healthiest I've seen it in the 7 years I've been guiding up here.
Yes, it had a good flush out from that last wet season because you remember where people used to drive down to the mouth of the Finnis. That all got kind of covered with silt. You couldn't really access it, silt and mud. It's been flushed well, has it?
Yeah, it has, mate. It's changed the entrance into the river system a bit as well, but it's probably easier than it ever has been to get in, I think. So
to the land of the mice then.
Yeah, they're all complaining about this mice plague in New South Wales, but I think Corroboree, they call, I think, the new highway the Velvet Highway. So we've got, there's plenty of small fish in there, which is a lot of fun as well. But, there's the odd keeper in there too.
Let's start paddles with the boat ramp. We've had a few reports of the boat ramp not being in the best condition. How did you find it?
Yeah, government's supposed to be out there. A bit more news on this in a minute, but
yes.
Government's supposed to have been out there to check it out and working on fixing it because there's been a bit of damage.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not in a good way at all. I've got a 6.5 metre boat. My trailer bottoms out on the ramp. I've had to jackknife off the ramp. That's the only way I can get on and off without damage. So,
right.
If you're facing the water, my advice,
Go to the
all
right.
care and no responsibility is definitely go on the right.
Yeah.
And jackknife it off. If you've got a big boat, jackknife it off the ramp.
And as I mentioned, a little more detail on this in a second, but the push from AFANT will be to just do it properly. Proper two-laner that's bigger and longer so that big boats like yours, charter guides and the big recos, can access it when the water level drops all the way through the Dryde. No doubt that'd be something you'd support. Just needs a bigger, longer ramp.
100%. You know, they're doing the road, so why not do the ramp?
So do it properly, Tim, like Dundee. So just dump a heap of sand at the edge of a Corroboree boat ramp, so make a little sandbar.
Just scull drag with 3 tractors to get in and out.
Yeah, we'll just leave snatch straps permanently on the bank there.
Yes.
That's how we do boat ramps in the top end.
Yeah.
So you said you're getting a few keepers in amongst the rats. How'd you go on the last trip?
Yeah, last trip we did well. We got 5 legals.
That's good going.
Which is good for the Billabong. I know people will laugh at that, but it's definitely, you know, along with another 15 or so smaller fish and plenty of Saratoga. So, you know, it's the most spectacular place in my opinion, of the territory. You know, it's a full experience in there. So to get in there, get some legal fish, have a good day, you know, nothing better. My good trolling runs aren't trollable at the moment because the lily pads have moved out. So I'm just casting the lilies, mate, with small rubbers.
Are you really having to draw the fish out from the lilies? You find they're just hanging back, or?
Mate, they're in deep. But the problem is you fish weedless and you're struggling to get them hooked all the time. So I've been a bit more frustrating, been hooked up to the lily pads a lot because I'm only using small jig heads. I'm not fishing weedless in there because you can generally get them out of the lily pads with not too much drama. So
and surely that's a good excuse for when the guide, despite customers being on holidays, when the guide can genuinely shout at the clients to skull drag the living bejesus out of me. And you hook up, you need to be shouted at to start lock drag, skull dragging.
Yeah, definitely. We're not fighting Bremen Flathead.
No, we're not. We're not. This is a different game, and you're deep in the lilies.
You will rip that thing's head off and drag it out.
Yeah, that's right. This is a battle.
Yeah, if I swear at you, don't be offended.
Just
get the bloody thing out of
there. Good fun. So what's now then, mate? I mean, you got a bit of time off. You're going to go fishing yourself, or just keep hunting the half days?
Last year I went back on the tools. I'm an auto electrician by trade, but don't ring me because I'm not.
You don't want to be doing that again, do you?
So we'll just take each day as it comes at the moment. Just have to see how New South Wales gets out of this. Hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah, totally. Good on you, and thanks for popping in to spin us a few yarns on the Finnis and Corroboree. Good to see you again, Paddles.
My pleasure, boys.
From across the vast expanses of the wild and untamed top end, intrepid tinny correspondents risk rampage and ridicule from crewmates to bring you the truth. Incoming.
Oh, it's a late afternoon at the sand pumps.
Maybe I need a beer.
Come down, Rock, you said. We'll have a great day, and we've been out mud crabbing, and we've had a great day, haven't we?
I had an awesome day.
But I just have to say, you know, coming home, and we're in a couple of boats, and they're going, Rocky, what's this other boat ramp we keep going past? What's that boat ramp?
Because really, we're not terribly familiar up here. We're more Dundee people. Never been Bino people. What happens is we get back and we think that we have got you onto something that's going to absolutely smash the Tourism NT website, because it is just probably the next incredible product to come out of our beautiful territory. What do you reckon?
Oh, look, I've got it planned. I'm going to go national, but we actually were using the boat ramp on Barramundi Drive, and I thought, why are we going all the way to Barramundi Drive? And the guy said, well, that's because that's the boat ramp, Rocky. And I said, yeah, but there's one like 3.5 k's down the road. No, there's not a boat ramp there. Yeah, there is. So when we got back from mud crabbing, I said, right, get in the car, we're off. Go, what was it? Under 4 minutes, and we're at the boat ramp.
As opposed to 29 minutes to go to the other one.
And I told you, I went black and blue, yes, there is a boat ramp. No, there's not, Rocky. I said, yes, there is, because when I come home, I get my ice cream there and then I head home. That's what I do. I have an ice cream at the sand palms. That's what you do.
So I reckon that you've found something, a niche in the market. It's a massive hole, and you're going to fill it.
But it didn't stop there, though, because it was like, well, then there's another boat ramp in between the one that you're at and Sand Palms called Dundee Road Boat Ramp. That one, Yeah, there it is. So I took you down there too. So what was that? That was 17 minutes away from the sand palms. It's still a lot further away than 3 minutes down the road.
Let's just not digress that we found a hole in the tourist market.
Rocky's boat ramp tours of places that the locals should have known about and didn't know about and are still trying to figure it out. I think I better share with you. There's even a bigger, more sort of popular, more controversial one.
Really?
That's even further down the road.
Really?
It's called Dundee Boat Ramp.
Oh, yeah, of
On the
course.
beach.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't go to the Dundee Beach Boat Ramp to go to Bynoe Harbour.
Well, I can't believe we didn't do it. My God.
Yeah.
We're on a winner here. You'll go gangbusters. You'll make money. A lot of money.
Yeah, it's a good tip there, Andy. If you want to deny the existence of a boat ramp or even a fishing spot, I suppose, you just, deny it. You know there's a good spot at the mouth of Sampan, for example.
No, there isn't.
Yeah, there is. It's right there. It's at the mouth. It's really good.
No, there isn't.
You know, yes, there is.
No,
it is there.
It doesn't
It is
exist.
there.
No.
Oh, I guess you're right. I'll just go to the Adelaide.
Low.
Tag.
Link. Like.
Comment.
Post.
Add. Follow.
Shoot it. Share it.
Upload. Shout it. Give us a hoy.
So, Andy, I've been thinking in your pitch to The Rock, to get The Rock on the tinny.
Yes, which is not going extremely well to date.
But did you tell him that there's a fishing spot named after him?
No,
He pretty much has to come.
No, I didn't tell him that. That's a good point.
We could erect a plaque.
The Rock.
This plaque was laid on the 13th day of the 8th month of the year 2021 by Dwayne The Rock Johnson, the pure personification of the hallowed mythic geological fishing wonder upon which this plaque sits. For a brief moment on this day, The Rock and The Rock were one. One big rock. Note, The Rock mentioned above, not to be confused with local fishing identity Rocky Edwards, aka Rock, aka the High Priestess, herself not daunting in physical proportions as per other Rock, but rather in fishing prowess.
You know The Rock would wear a dress. I don't like it when we call it a dress, a whafatanga, or a sarong,
the Samoan
or a
chief
lava
dress.
Yeah.
I bet you The Rock...
Go and tease him about wearing a dress, Tim.
I bet you... Well, I wouldn't tease him about his chest hair looking like John Howard, because he'd be perfectly shaved and very, very chiselled.
He is. He's smooth as.
Quick point of order from last week too, Andy. We heard the story of the land mammal Steph.
Yes.
First Dewey ever caught
Yep.
in Shoal Bay. Didn't even know what it was.
Mm.
So her boyfriend heard that shout out on the pod last week and thought it was remiss of us not to share the moment itself with the church, so sent in the video. It was a bit unclear on whether she was even that happy about it either.
Billy wanted a big fish. Wanted some fish. Yeah, but I was like thinking like something.
Just pumping wine. You got him. You've eaten him. You got him.
Good much fish.
So she wanted a big fish, but wasn't quite sure when she actually got that big a fish.
Yeah. Careful what you wish for.
Yeah, that's right.
Not by yourself. Nice one.
Well done, Steph.
From Chris, a 5 metre plus big black croc attacked our boat at Bridge Lagoon yesterday, Arvo.
Oh.
It's been reported, but thought you guys should warn people. In fact, another one sitting here in the box as well, Tim, another croc warning, this time from Peter. G'day, boys. My mate and myself were out for a memorial fish last Sunday up Shit Creek. That's the proper name in brackets. At East Arm. They were having a quiet trawl up the creek, and they noticed a nice 2.5 to 3 metre croc just sort of sitting there, and they got some mullet, and then they went back to this rock bar, anchored up, cracked a few amber cans,
Yes.
and looked up to see what was going on in the 12-foot punt only 500 metres from where they'd seen the croc. And there's these kids sitting on this punt with their feet hanging over in the water. Yeah. What can you say? Safety
We don't say that anymore, do we?
a holiday.
Thanks,
Pete.
thanks to Pete and to Chris. A few community notices for you too, Fishos. At Durack, there's a community info session coming up on the Salvinia in the lakes there. You know, if you're one of the many who like a flick in the Durack Lakes.
Oh, yeah.
It's on at Saturday at 8:30. A local weed expert's there to answer questions because a lot of the fishos kind of whinge a fair bit about the infestation of the weeds. They're going to talk you through why, how they do what they do, and how they get rid of it.
That sounds interesting.
East Arm, again, been some damage to some of the pontoons there. The government have taken a few sections out to fix them.
Yep.
Boat ramps still open and operational, even though they've moved a couple of sectors for repair.
Some damage. We're not underplaying that, are we, Tim? Because the photo I saw on Facebook was effectively the pontoon floating away.
Let's take this on the facts then from Andy Wharton. There is no pontoon.
No, I think it's definitely usable. But all I'm saying is if like half your house floated away, would you say there's been some damage? Or would you say...
It's a disaster.
It's a disaster. Yeah.
At Corroboree, thanks to Tash Rammers, who put this on the agenda last week. We were talking about it earlier with paddles. AFAN apparently raised this last year, Andy, but the government couldn't get their act together and were beaten by the wet.
Oh, right.
To do the repairs.
Ah.
So they've now scheduled some repairs. The government are in the process of investigating a longer-term solution. AFAN are saying ultimately this should result in full replacement of the ramp in the next couple of years. A policy position wholeheartedly endorsed by the tinny, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
Genuinely 2 lanes wide, long enough to accommodate larger boats at the end of the dry, a pontoon for safe passenger loading and unloading,
Yep.
bit of earthwork embankments to reduce the risk of crocodile attack, and an 18-tier peanut gallery for observing the carnage. Apparently,
that's stock standard now.
Every
time we put a request in for any new infrastructure, it must have a peanut gallery.
Yes.
If it's got to do with fishing.
AFAN were very keen on allocating some of the $50 million rec fishing fund to that end.
Good.
Apparently, government were on site earlier this week, actually, to start sussing out the short-term options. Repairs are likely to be significant, so they're kind of expecting when that's all locked in, there'll be some closures midweek to accommodate it. But we'll let you know about that when we know about it, and until then, be cautious.
Shoot it, share it, shout it.
Give us a hoy.
G'day, my name is John Tooby. I am the Artistic Director and Chief Conductor of the Darwin Symphony Orchestra. Among my passions is fishing. And a few weeks ago, a good mate of mine rang up and said, let's go for a fish at East Point. And I thought, I love fishing at East Point. I've still not caught anything there, but I still love fishing there. So we agreed to meet at 8 o'clock. I don't have a car, so I have a wonderful electric bike with a milk crate on the back that holds my tackle bag and my fishing rod perfectly. And so off I went. I left about 7 o'clock. Yeah, so on my journey, I had some beautiful new Bluetooth headphones, listened to Pink Floyd, which is my favourite. I'm sure I was listening to Wish You Were Here all the way, and of course I was in heaven. Pink Floyd going fishing at East Point with a mate doesn't get any better than this. Oblivious to the drama unfolding right behind me. And got to East Point where we met. Been looking forward to this. Let's get going. And he looked down at my rod and reeled and said, "Mate, you're not going to catch anything with that." And where I looked myself and suddenly realised I had not even a foot of line on my fishing reel. It was stripped bare, and I was thinking, that's insane. You know, I've had it all prepped up, a nice new lure, a fancy lure on the end of my rod the night before, and then it occurred to me that on my way to East Point from Allawa, that my bike was struggling a little bit, and I couldn't quite work it out. Oblivious to it, I just kept on going. And then realised that the tip had obviously touched a branch and managed to attract my lure. And from that point, I dragged 300 metres of line between Allawa and East Point somewhere, which was devastating, of course, because I couldn't go fishing, but also I felt terrible that I'd caused this environmental disaster and left 300 metres of mono somewhere. Anyway, we went fishing. Fortunately, my friend had a fishing rod, so we went fishing, and I thought while I was fishing, I wonder where that happened, and was pondering it all morning. We didn't catch anything, and we got on my bike, and I thought, I'm going to find this on the way home. Got on the bike, and I'm going to be able to find 300 metres of line, and I couldn't find it anywhere. I literally retraced my steps. No good. There is an offshoot to all of this little disaster, and that is, for the first time in my life, I've been spectacularly spooled, not by a fish, sadly, but by a tree. I'm not sure many people have had that experience.
Spooled on Dick Ward Drive. Improbable, you may have thought. Well, think again. And of course, it's obvious why he couldn't find the line again. Another cyclist who's yet to put the fishing line on the reel, with an unspooled reel, has come along, and Neck Minute...
Hang on, Neck Minute? Really?
Yeah.
It's a bit 2020.
Is it? I'm a little bit behind the 8 ball on these
Or
things.
earlier, yeah.
I say stuff often from old 90s TV campaigns, like...
Do you?
Yeah, like every wet season. At least once I'll bellow out the window, Marge, the rains are here. Like that ad?
Yes.
Hopefully shooting a knowing look to a passerby and receiving the same look back at the onset of the wet season. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, now that I think about it, I'm not sure I really know that ad.
It was an ad for some fried goods, I think.
Was it?
What about bees make honey and there's honey in yo-yos?
Never heard of it.
Arnott's yo-yo biscuits.
Doesn't exist.
Cows make milk and the milk becomes honey and they're both in yo-yo biscuits.
Never heard of it.
I can't actually apply that one to life as much as I'd like. Singing that song, it's not really applicable to the onset of the wet season or the monsoon or a knowing wink and nod to a passerby.
I'm not sure where I was in that era. I think I might have been out building go-karts.
Having a real life, having a real childhood. I did note, though, I don't know if B had meant it, but his use of Pink Floyd song.
How I wish you were here.
Oh, yes. I do rate that, and I do know that, and I do remember that.
But did he mean to use Wish You Were Here in reference to John wishing his fishing line were there? Oh, how I wish you were here.
What have we found? Same old fears. Wish you were here.
Probably not.
Red, fast and free! Presenting the Tales from the Tinny Fish Measuring Sticker! Some say it was calibrated by NASA to within 1,000th of a micron. Some say it's been printed over 1 billion times. Some say that these stats might be slightly exaggerated. Much like your fishing yards without a Tales from the Tinny Fish Measuring Sticker! Email fishing@abc.net.au or message the Tinny on Facebook to get yours.
And from Rob, good afternoon, lads. I'm an avid fisho from the Central Goldfields in Victoria and have extensively travelled a vast section of this great nation.
Hang on, I don't know the Central Goldfields well, but is there a correlation between where our forefathers and foremothers dug for gold and notable Barramundi rivers?
Yeah, it's a good question. So what are the tides right now in the Central Goldfields of Victoria?
That's what I'm trying to... Yeah. And how are the barra biting on the flats across the Central Goldfields at this time?
Maybe they pan for barra. Anyway, Rob writes and goes on to write, there are on occasions, so yeah, that's correct, on occasion.
You could pan for barra fingerlings at the Durack Lakes.
Could actually. Occasionally there are times when we come across enough fish to justify a Tales from the Tinny get a mullet up your fish measuring sticker.
Yeah.
So without any photos on hand to justify, you'll just have to take the word of a fellow fisherman.
That there are barra in the goldfields.
Because the word of any fisherman, of course, is 100% reliable and truthful. The cod do grow to a size worthy of a TFT sticker. That's true, actually.
Yeah, of course that's true.
Not to mention the prowess and the value added to the vessel in which the TFT sticker shall be displayed.
Oh, look, he's got it all down.
He does. He's got it down, Pat. And I'm sure Rob says the addition of the sticker will undoubtedly increase my catch, and he'll be forever grateful.
Regardless of whether you're catching, it increases the prowess of the vessel. So that's an underlying benefit, irrespective of anything else.
And he makes a great point there. So if you are selling a second-hand boat, particularly in the top end, or anywhere actually around Australia, make sure you mention that it comes with a TFT Go Fast sticker.
Yeah, you thought the COVID tax was going to put 5 to 10% on top of your vehicle, just a sticker puts
Yeah.
at least 17.5%.
That's right.
On top of the value.
Good
you see
value.
that all the time on the Facebook ad side.
Yeah, you do. And they always show the sticker in the photo.
They
You
do.
go,
It's
"Oh,
normally the main photo
that
in
must
the
be
gallery."
a good boat, yeah. And it's had a good fishing history. That's what's going to happen to your boat, Rob. Sticker is on the way.
One of them insisted on using a hand line.
Seemed to get worse from there.
Awkward. Everything was like, oh gosh.
There's always a backup plan on the way back into Darwin anyway, so...
Tales from the Tinny.
Well, fishers, everyone knows that fishing can be pretty good. Once you get outside that Berrima line and beyond, past the salivating hordes of Darwin fishers, and you go remote.
Yes.
It's like a double-edged sword, really. I mean, you don't have necessarily the beautiful waterfront coffee shop in the remote community. That may be a statement of the obvious, but the other side of that sword is what you do have is some of the best fishing in the world.
And what you don't have is the salivating hordes of others.
No, you have space. You have time and space and fish.
It's not just good. It's unbelievable.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. We all know this. It's a fact we all know. And we all get along fine, mostly, without being constantly reminded of what we're missing out on.
Yes.
So we don't need that FOMO in our lives.
We try to avoid it as much as possible here on the Tinny because no one needs that FOMO of where I just went and how awesome it was while you're sitting at a coffee shop at Nightcliff.
No quality of latte and view
outranks
is
that.
a substitute for a fisher cast for 9 hours.
Yes, in a remote wilderness area with not one other boat in sight.
Anyhow, every now and again, some little reminder comes along that just smashes that FOMO ball down and bursts through right in your face.
Whether we want it or
not.
Yeah.
Correct.
And we're going to do it again. Now, this is what I hear we're heading towards here.
That's where we're going with this very long intro. Such a reminder came in this week from Nige out at Maningrida. Who also reminded Beard of one indisputable, infallible truth, as certain as gravity itself, that intrepid travellers the world over have forever known that weird shit goes down as soon as you get a bit remote.
Hey mate, I'm Nigel. I live out at Maningrida as the town ESO and decided to go out the other day chasing some tuna.
What are you doing out there?
I'm the ESO, the Essential Services Officer, so I just run power and water. We've been seeing a few birds from the shore, so we went a fair few k's offshore and got bugger all day. Decided to come home early and call it quits, and 200 metres from the boat ramp, we've seen a couple of birds. Thought we might jig for some small queenfish. Had me barra rod with a little 21-gram jig on with, I think, 30 or 40-pound leader, not quite sure, and off it went at a great knot of speed and stripped about 40, 50 metres worth of line. I thought I might have been on a metre queenie, which I thought wouldn't have been too bad, and battled it for about 15, 20 minutes with me mate, all excited. And as we got it close to the boat, because we were in 3 metres of dirty water in the river mouth, we noticed it was quite a large mackerel and managed to get a gaff into it and put it on the measure mat, and she went 122.
How much was this skill and how much was this complete artiness, Nige?
It was a lot of finesse, I will say. I've been growing the finesse quite a bit. Not just trying to skull drag them in on you and the way it was running. And once I seen it was a mackerel and knew I had no lead, like no wire trace, I just babied it until I got it to the boat. I had a couple of big runs which buggered it out.
122 mackerel on a 20-gram jig on a barra rod on 30 to 40-pound leader. That's pretty good.
It was just your textbook hook in the corner of the mouth.
Nige, did you see that beast that we posted on Facebook from last week, that 165?
I sure did. That's what made me go out. I want that photo. If I've got a cradle of fish, that's the photo I want. You catch mackerel here all year round and you can go out and have 20, 30 mackerel a day. You don't even got a trawler, you're just flicking there everywhere. They're all around the metre.
Have you been doing much other fishing out there, man?
Since the tuna are in, just been going out chasing tuna. A lot of the boys are still getting quite a few barra, which is quite surprising for how cold it is. I've actually also started spearfishing out here. Had a very close call with a crocodile, so I haven't been back in the water for a little while.
How long is enough after you've seen a crocodile spearfishing?
Well, I haven't been in the water for probably 2 months. Pretty ridiculous, the sheer amount of coral trout and bluebone that are out there. Everywhere you look, really. They're just everywhere.
A lot of people have different opinions on this. Which do you rate more highly, bluebone or coral trout?
Oh, crispy skin coral trout.
Tough choice there, Nige.
Spoiled for selection.
Well, congratulations on the mackerel.
Biggest mackerel I've ever got. Spent days chasing them and getting nothing, and to fluke one like that right out the front of the boat ramp in dirty river water.
What's the lesson here, Nige? You never know what's going to swim by?
Oh, usually you do know what's going to swim by. It's pretty easy fishing out here. You know what you're going to target and what you're going to get. Yeah, when you're going for small trevally and you get a big mackerel as bycatch. As they say, just Maningrida things. Things like that happen out here all the time.
You never know what's going to happen in Greta.
No. Catching dewies in places you shouldn't.
Like where?
Catching, just off like a little rocky bank in half a metre of water. Just trying to throw a little soft plastic around for a barra and look, you get a big jewfish. Too many lemon sharks. You're always catching those.
Maningrida.
Maningrida, yeah. That with all the pigs that walk around town and the cows. Mate, I've had a crocodile stalking me for the last couple of weeks. Been walking my dog along the beach and I've had this one crocodile coming in every time.
Time for a new dog walking route?
Oh, I just keep an eye on it, There's a couple there, like, they're always here. You go when I first got here, you'd get in the boat ramp first thing in the morning and you got to shoo the crocodile off the boat ramp. There's always stuff going on, from the cows chasing people around town to dogs and pigs just fighting in the street. Just standard Maningrida things.
Just Maningrida things, yeah.
But I've been out here 3 years. I was Homelands coordinator before that. I worked on all the Homelands. It's crazy, the barra fishing. There's a little place which is, if you go there and don't catch 90 barra in 2-3 hours, it's a bad day. This is in a creek that's 3 metres wide and 20 metres long. You sit there with a handline.
Fishing remote in the territory.
Oh, there's a lot of 100 barra days, yeah. Not that I've had one.
So, Nige, on the off chance that you come back to Darwin and go barra fishing, like, is that even something that you'd consider doing?
No, I've been remote for almost 10 years now. I can't see me going back to civilization.
So you've been going barra and trying to get some tuna lately. Paint a picture for me about the tuna out there.
Tuna, well, you don't even have to really look when they're on. You just sit there and wait because you're completely surrounded by schools of thousands. Everywhere you look, there's just birds and bust-ups. Yeah, just thick. Oh, yeah, thick. You just park and wait and just throw in random directions and get them. You haven't got to chase the school down. They come to you. There's just so many.
What's the plan this weekend?
This weekend, I am going to go and do the same thing. I'm going to go out around a couple of the islands, try and get some tuna, but I'll probably wait for high tide. I live right on the coast, so from my patio I can see if there's birds and bust-ups out the front. And if I get nothing out there, I'll just hang around the river mouth and wait.
Chuck 20-gram jig around.
Yeah, I might actually use a white trace this time, just in case.
Thanks heaps, Nige. We'll catch you down the track.
See ya.
And we thought Groot had the weirdest stuff going down. Maybe Maningrida's taken the title.
We have a contender.
So here's a call out to you, fishers. If you're living in or used to live remote NT and had some messed up weird fishing experience like Nige's that can only be explained by something like the saying Maningrida things, can you let us know? We know that weird goes down remote, okay? And the only thing we like better than funny or useful information is weird. And the territory is chock full of that.
Tales from the Tinny. Get a mullet up, ya. Yeah, g'day. My name's Yoris from Zicoli. Myself and a mate on Saturday night decided we'd go down to Buffalo Creek for a bit of a late night flick down towards the mouth. We didn't do all that well, but on the way back, we just sort of looking in the water thinking, oh, hang on, what's that? And there's a tackle box floating around in the water. I'm thinking, oh, gee, some poor bugger's left his box down here and it's got washed in as the tides come in or something. And a few more steps, there's another one, and then another one. And I'm like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah, Neil McCann from Daly River. Yeah, we went out fishing, me, Agus and Matt. And we went out to Shell Bay, caught a couple of barras, a couple of crabs. And on the way back was waiting for the tide turn. Finally turned over. We started driving back and down out Buffalo Creek boat ramp. And then we was coming around the corner and we just seen all this stuff in the water, like just heaps of crap, just eskies and bloody tackle gear and all this crap just sitting in water. And then we was just like, didn't see that on the way through.
Hi, my name's Brian Thomas. I'm from Woollahgi. I'm 81 years of age and I've lived in the territory just about all my life. I went to school in Pine Creek and Alice Springs and Darwin. I've been fishing since, well, I don't know, bloody 1957 virtually. Last Saturday, beautiful weather, good tides. Early in the morning, I went, put the boat in at Buffalo Creek boat ramp with 3 of my mates from the Nightcliff Bowls Club and headed off to Meckett Creek to do a bit of fishing and crabbing. We offloaded the crab pots, did a bit of fishing. And coming back though, unfortunately I picked the right-hand channel instead of the left-hand channel, and we got stranded for a couple of hours. We waited for the tide to come back in. Then we went and checked our pots. We got a few, about 3 crabs. Continued trawling for a barra and flicking the lures. On the way back out of Meckett, we got up with the incoming tide, with good water. I noticed the boat seemed to be very hard to get up on the plane. I put the bilge pump on and no water seemed to be coming out, so whether or not I had a faulty bilge pump at that stage, I'm not sure, but we got around to the mouth of Buffalo Creek and got about a quarter of the way up. One of the mates says, the motor's supposed to be that low in the water. I looked behind. The boat was just about submerged at the back. By the time I tried to react, and the water just came in and the boat tipped over, and under I went.
Oh, somebody's in the water. We actually seen these 2 old fellas in the water. We turned around, spun around, went back up there.
We all had to swim out from underneath the boat. I had one of the hoods on with a mask on, and I sort of got a bit of waterboarding treatment, so I was gasping for breath, and one of my mates grabbed me and I grabbed a hold of a esky floating past. And I was suffering from a bit of nerve damage in my leg, so I had a bit of trouble swimming. So, you know, I had a heart valve replacement a few years ago, and I felt like I was going to have a bloody heart attack. I had Robbie, Craig and Jerry in the boat with me. And Jerry had just had reconstruction surgery on his knee, so he was pretty well buggered. My mate Robbie, he's not the fittest man around the place, and Craig, he's not too bad. But, you know, we 4 geriatrics together in the water, so, you know, floundering around the place. You can just imagine the scene. Robbie started towing me towards the mangroves, which was about 500 yards away, incoming tide. Finally got up to the mangroves, all slippery with mud. I was hyperventilating. I was lucky to be holding on.
I just jumped straight in. He was just like a stun mate. He must have been in the water for a while, struggling to get out. And then we couldn't touch the bottom. There was no way, no way. Yeah, this is all up against the mangroves, and there's this one stick underneath the water that's keeping him up because he had his legs wrapped around it. And then I'm trying to help him up to get him upright so we could stand him up and lean him back onto Brendan's boat. And like we're trying with all our hope. Like he was a decent sized lad.
Oh mate, I couldn't move. They actually virtually had to hop in the water and lift me up into the boat. I couldn't help myself.
And we rolled him over, let him just rest, get a breath, and just chill out for a minute. Then we got back in, we helped the other old mate into the boat as well. Spun back, we went back to the boat ramp.
And then I realised, oh, bloody hell, the keys to the truck and the trailer and everything in the boat.
Oh, I'm from Daly River, like fresh water, not really used to the salt water, because if you see in the creeks and stuff, I swimming down in Daly River, it's different to bloody up here. But I would never jump into any type like creeks and stuff up here because I know the lizards. But I was thinking while I was driving back to the boat that was underwater, and I'm like, am I going to do this? It just got up to, it was a peak of high tide at the time, so the boat was at least maybe 5.5, like it was a decent sized boat. And then all the boys was there on the top of the water, stills connected to the crab pots. So I was like, oh, I'm going to follow these down and hopefully I'll get down to the bottom. So I followed down with the rope and I felt around. It wasn't that clear, it was quite murky at the time. And, you know, I did get down there and I felt around and then I finally had a glimpse of the console. And there's lures and fishing gear bloody floating all around, and I was like, oh, here we go. Yeah, I'm going to catch myself up, or I'm going to get my foot stuck in the rope. I'm probably going to get caught up underwater as well. So I finally got down to the console, found the bloody bag, his knapsack, the waterproof bag with all the phone and his keys and the wallet, and I'm like mucking around underwater trying to get this bag off, and I'm literally forcing to rip this thing off because I couldn't get it unconnected. And I finally found the clip. Finally got up to surface, and then I probably never got so fast out of that water. You know, I started panicking after that when I got to the surface. I'm like, yeah, I'm in this water now, so I'm getting out of this thing.
John Russo here from Offshore Boats, coming back in from our charter on Saturday. Got 3/4 of the way down Buffalo Creek entrance, and we found that there was a whole heap of crab pots just floating in the water there, other boats hanging around. So we asked what had going on, and they'd said that a boat had just sunk, and some other guys had taken them into the ramp. And when we got in, they asked us if we could go and help them. When we got there, it was actually not as deep as we thought, and I was able just to kneel down on the back with a long gaff and actually just gaff the kind of the top of it. So then we just pulled it up from there, connect some ropes onto the tow points, and just started dragging it back to the ramp. A lot of the actual crab pots and rods and everything were still in it, and managed to get up and get it onto a bit of totally out of the water and onto a bit of a plane. Got it back to the ramp, and the plan was just to come in next to the ramp and then quickly keep pulling the rope so that it would stay floating to get it right up back onto the beach next to the ramp. But unfortunately that didn't work too well, because basically as soon as we stopped, it sunk straight away. So then it was about 30 or 40 metres off the bottom of the ramp. So then what we ended up doing was getting 2 cars and actually drag the boat back to the ramp. So we had to use the guys with winches and everything.
Mate, I feel very relieved, and I'm from the very harrowing experience. It taught me some very, very valuable lessons about not being too complacent and make sure that you got all your ducks in a row as far as safety goes. And I'm alive to drink another day. Great to live in the Territory and have all these people help you out and bloody hop in when you needed it. Can't say enough thank yous for the people, John, all the other boaties who helped me, my mates in the boat who got me to safety. It's great.
It was really great just how many people at the ramp were helping out and volunteering their cars and winches and all getting involved.
Yeah, but anybody else would have done it. Anybody else would have done it. If it was me, I would hope for somebody to pull up and do the same for me as well.
Unbelievable the help the people gave me down that ramp. It's the Territory, mate, yep.
It's a beer after that, I needed one, that was for sure. I wouldn't say I was the soberest when I jumped into the water, and I was sober at the end of that whole bloody idea. I was like, well, where's the nearest pub? Let's go. Let's get out of here. Let's get these fish in the bloody fridge and let's go to the pub. Let's get out.
So these tackle boxes, I've got them home, opened them up, cleaned everything out, dried it off, and inside one of them there's a sat-nav registration with the owner's number on it. So give him a call and say, mate, have you lost some fishing gear? He says, have I bloody what?
I got all my rods and everything back, and I think I lost one crab pot. But, most of the gear, I got just about all my gear back. It was unbelievable.
Well, guess what? I've actually got that crab pot. We took it out of his boat when we were trying to tie it on, and it's actually in my place still. So, Brian, you didn't actually lose anything.
All's well that ends well, I guess. But yeah, hey, lucky dude.
Well, wasn't that an absolutely incredible yarn, Fishos? They were in the water for 20 minutes before someone came along. I think they sort of assumed it was hull damage from earlier, some sort of faulty bilge or something as well.
A lot of people from the pictures on Facebook, and which you can see at ABC Tales from the Tinny on Facebook, assumed because the pictures were at the ramp, once they were scull dragged back, assumed they'd just forgotten to put the bungs in at the ramp. It wasn't that. It was something else.
No, it was something way more serious than that. And it's. I know we bang on about safety, never taking a holiday.
You do.
But I'll tell you what, it's dead right in this situation.
Yeah, life jackets and EPIRB handy.
Yeah,
That's
so you can get them. I've got a mate that sunk a boat years ago, and guess where all the safety gear was?
It's a common story.
Under the swag and all the stuff they just slept out overnight on. And
it's always the way.
You ain't going to get it. So you could actually have a safety. I was thinking about this after hearing that story. You could have like a safety pole. So on the boat you have a pole, and off it you just have every bit of safety gear hanging. So if the boat did sink, the pole would at least have a little bit more above water time.
Have you thought this through?
Not really.
How would you go fly fishing? You can't have safety getting in the way of the prime reason
of the wand.
That your safety's aboard.
All right, no, let's ditch that idea. Brian's wife told him, "That's it. no more boating.
I bet she did.
But Brian's told us, well, the jury's actually still out on that. So presumably he's part of that jury.
Well, presumably he is the jury.
Yes. Presumably he might be out for a while.
Oh, wasn't it a lovely ending to the story too, that he got his mud crab pot back and got his tackle boxes back. And the take home there is just how Territorians rally when they need to. What a delightful story, and glad to hear you're all well, and everyone's all well and good, Brian. Well, that'd be it from us for another week, Fishos. Thanks to Bush Chook and Rock, to Brian, to Neil, Yoris and John, of course to Rowan Paddle Salisbury, aboard whose boat those 200 horses are still paddling and making a hell of a splash.
And Fishers, if you've seen 300 metres of mono lost somewhere along the vicinity of Dickwar Drive recently, do the right thing and return it to its rightful owner.
He really wishes it was there again. And I don't care, just to put it on the record as we wrap it up, Andy, what you wear on your boat. The boat is a safe and personal space, and it is a broad church after all.
Yes, it is indeed. And thanks finally to my chest hair for looking just like John Howard.
Absolutely. There's an opportunity here too. Remember the great beard sculpting craze of, let's call that 2013?
Yes, I do.
Where the beards were sculpted into various weather patterns?
Yes.
You know where I'm going.
I know where you're going.
Why don't we launch it amongst the tinny church, some sort of a chest hair impersonation competition?
And you want me to kick it off by sculpting my chest hair to resemble John Howard's
eyebrows? It does already, apparently. But you know the happy little hairdresser who we chatted to that time?
Yeah, he might do it.
Couldn't you head in there and get him to just accentuate the eyebrows by shaving a little bit underneath them and around the mean little nipple eyes?
Yeah.
All right, well, the challenge is out there too, Fishos. If you've got chest hair that looks like someone, or you can craft your chest hair to look like someone, ABC Tales and the Tinny, send us the photos on Facebook. And until then, we'll catch you next week. Get a hairy John Howard looking little mullet right on up here. Go on, do that.